Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Truth Football Podcast. I am Dana, and that's Kate. And with us is our dear friend Michelle. We love it when Michelle joins us. Unfortunately, Lisa and Sonia can't be here tonight, but Michelle, she just comes charging in to save the day, and we just love her for it. Michelle, how are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Good. It's been a good season so far, I think.
I guess, yeah, considering, yeah. If
Kate's like,
you can stay off prime time, maybe I can do better.
well, for those who don't know, Michelle is a Dallas Cowboy fan. So it's absolutely perfect that we have her here tonight. So tonight, we're going to talk about a couple roller coaster teams. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. And then we're going to talk about a team that just sits at the bottom in the New England Patriots. It's mean. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just kind of the way it is. And then Kate came up with a very fun question little game for us, and we're going to have a good time with that. Of course, before we get started, we want to thank our sponsor, Donkey's Cheesesteaks out of New Jersey, 3 locations in New Jersey: Camden, Medford, and Mount Holly. And of course, you can go to goldbelly.com and look up Donkey's Cheesesteaks, and Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks, and you'll be able to find them, and you can have them sent right to your house. So huge thanks to them for sponsoring our podcast again this year. Kate, how was your weekend?
My football team didn't lose.
I didn't
I mean,
either.
to be fair, we were on a bye.
Right.
So
Mine
it's
too.
it's very different for me, at least, to approach a weekend of football where my team isn't going to play, and I don't have to worry about. I can watch my division. I can see what's going on. I can flip around to different games. It's just a very different feeling when my team's not playing, and I enjoy it a lot. And we did absolutely nothing this weekend, and so I got to watch a lot of football. I got up early to do the London game, which was super fun. Um, I just love the Jags. They've seemed to have Sunshine has figured it out. So that ended up
Yeah,
being a
he
really good
really
game.
has.
And there were quite a few games this weekend that I thought were going to be kind of sketchy going into them. Ended up being great games. So it was a fun weekend of football.
It was a fun weekend of football. The Seahawks too were on a bye. It didn't mean though that we weren't busy. As you guys know, we keep track of every single game out there. But I'm with you, Kate. There is a kind of a like, thank God it's bye week. I think it's great when it's this early. No, not usually, but it is kind of a relief as a fan. But yeah, it was fun. I will tell you guys, really enjoyed the Houston game. I was very surprised at how competitive that game is. And I know you guys talked about CJ Stroud last week and how well that he's doing, but it's not just him. That whole Texans team is clicking, and you can see the excitement in the head coach's face. You can see the excitement on the players. I mean, some of those players have never had this before. They've had quite a few bad years. Did either one of you catch any of that game at all?
I saw it. I'm always at the sports bar to watch all of the 1 o'clock games. So it was a great game. It was going back and forth. D'Amico Ryans, he has that defense playing, and Stroud, he does his thing off and on. But they came from behind, and then Ritter, was able to get that field goal in. But it was a good game. It's funny because most of the games weren't that good at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the game everybody started turning to. Like no one was really paying attention. I kept yelling stuff out. And they're like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "You missing the Atlanta game? It's good." Like so,
Yeah,
I
it
thought it
was
was good.
good.
I enjoy watching them because I'm a defensive person and I like the way he has that defense playing. I mean, they look totally different from the team from last year. So
Yeah.
everyone said they needed a quarterback, but I think everybody's playing better. The defense looks
Mm-hmm.
good, and that they can overcome some of the mistakes that Stroud's making. But he's not doing too bad. So
No, he really is not doing bad at all. And to be honest with you, both of these teams were such trash last year, Atlanta and Houston both, and they both look like such different teams this year. It was so fun to watch. Another game that didn't turn out as well is the Dallas San Francisco game. And that was the one that everyone was watching. I want to hold off for 1 second and talk about Dallas. But before we do that, Kate, let's do an injury rundown just so that we have kind of that update, which let me tell you, while Kate looks that up, I got so hosed in fantasy football this week. And I play you next week, Michelle, just so you know. But in my work league, the gal I was playing against, she had 3 players on the Chicago team. She had DJ Moore and she had Justin Fields, and then she had someone who got a couple points. I was just like, the one game. I was done on Thursday. Like, there was no coming back from that at all. It was just a disaster. And then today, I got the news. Justin Jefferson went to IR. Put a fork in me. Dana's done. Oh, it was just crazy. It was just crazy.
Wanda had DJ Moore too, so I knew I lost 50 points from him, and I'm like, it's over. I have nobody that can do that. It's over.
Yeah, I had Jamar Chase on both my teams, so I won both of my games this week.
Yes.
It still surprises me how one player can make or break a week. If one player just lights up, that's it. Or if one player gets injured.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's what had just happened to me.
I'm in a Cleveland league, and so Nick Chubb going down has been just the bane of the season. We had quite a few injuries this week. As far as like guys that are out indefinitely, Nate Hobbs with an ankle injury for the Raiders. There were like 4 Tennessee Titans: Treylon Burks, Luke Gifford, Tierre Tart, Nicholas Petit. Free are all out with something going on. Shaq Leonard and Kwity Paye with the Colts are out, and Kwitty's in concussion protocol. That could be a while. I was trying to look for some of the big names. Jonathan Taylor is questionable, which is weird because with that contract deal he just did, apparently he wasn't never going anywhere. That was just, bait they were hanging out there for us all to get excited and think he might come to one of our teams. Brian Branch with an injury for Detroit, and the Lions are still looking good. Was trying to look through the list to see if there was anyone that I thought really was game changing. And aside from Justin Jefferson going on IR, I couldn't find anybody that I thought was going to have a huge impact on fantasy. But it's 70 players were on the list this
in 1 week
as either questionable or out. Like the most of any week so far this season are already being listed as either questionable or already out for this week's games. And so we didn't add a lot of names to IR, but we've got to have serious conversations about the injuries in the NFL. And I think that turf versus grass debate is about to come up. I'm a stats girl and a spreadsheet girl. I think I'm going to download everyone that was injured this week and just start tracking where they played. I think I'll go through all 5 weeks, and I'll bring that for next week's show. I'm going to track everyone who's been on the injured list at all this season, and if they were injured in a game on turf or on grass. My gut feeling is it's going to be 50-50. But we'll see what the numbers actually say.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you guys see this? The Swifties, they got so upset when Travis Kelce got hurt. Oh Lord, I am so sick of this Taylor Swift crap. But I will tell you this, it was hilarious because they're like, we have to get rid of all turf in football. I'm like, honey, started watching 1 game ago. So cute. I have to say, Michelle, you are so popular in our comments. We have a hello, Michelle from Anne. We have Lisa, how about those Cowboys, Michelle? You are it. And then Lisa said, oh, Jeff, no, I hit the wrong one. Sorry, Graham. Graham, thank you very much for that. So, Lisa says, tell Michelle I'm throwing up the U sign. No, stop it. Oh my God, stop it. I can't with you people. Oh my gosh.
All about the U, Lisa.
Right. I managed to not mention my Buckeyes when we were talking about CJ Stroud, so I should get some credit for that.
Huge credit. Lisa just doesn't know how to control herself. So, all right, let's dive into our topics for this week. We want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So obviously, this weekend, the game between the 49ers and the Cowboys was something that I was really looking forward to for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to see if we could get 4 wins from Dallas in a row. They could get that consistency and really kind of, be the team that I expect them. I just looked back on our prediction sheet. I predicted them going to the NFC Championship. And so I was curious to see if they could do that. Dallas or San Francisco was going to be their first true test of that. And then I wanted to see if San Francisco really is unbeatable. Well, one of those things is true at this point, and it's not the one about Dallas. This game, though, what we want to talk about with them is how they've been kind of up and down. So if you look at the schedule that Dallas has had, they lost. I'm sorry. So sorry about this. They had week 1, New York Giants 40-0, murdered them, right? Then you have New York won 30-10. Arizona, they lost to Arizona 28-16. Then they beat New England as they should have, then lost 42-10 to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what's interesting to me, if you look at their stats, I mean, it's not terrible. Dak Prescott has over 1,000 yards throwing. CD Lamb has 358 yards receiving already. The thing of it is, and this is where I want to get Michelle's expert opinion. So Dak Prescott, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 9 sacks, 87 rating. So there's been a lot of conversation about Dak, right? A lot of conversation about Dak. Michelle, sorry. Lisa keeps popping up over here. She's distracting me. But what I want to know is Jerry Jones doubled down today. Michelle, he said flat out, Dak is the guy. He can lead us to a Super Bowl. I have 100% faith in him. What is your gut read with the fan base? And do you feel the same?
Well, most of the Dallas fan base wants Dak to go anywhere he wants to go. They would like for him to do that. I think that I don't believe that Dak can get us to where we need to be, but I think that Dak is better than what he's showing so far. And I think Mike McCarthy's offense has a lot to do with how he's looking. He's actually regressed in these 5 games than he has in the previous years. Last year was one of his worst years where he threw 15 interceptions, but he still was able to, get over 3,000, get his yardage. Well, not quite 3,000, but it's probably one of his worst seasons was last year. What I'm seeing now is it doesn't look like his coach has confidence in him to get the ball down the field. He's averaging about 6 yards per pass. That's about 2 yards less than he's did in previous years. About 15 yards completions, about 3 yards. They're not moving the ball. He's not allowing him to get the ball down the field. And of course, that's frustrating everyone. That's frustrating CD Lamb. That's frustrating the fans. And it's probably frustrating Dak because he can play better than what he's doing. He still has some issues on his own. I think his biggest issue is, one, he doesn't know he has an inability to extend plays. I think that's one of his big things. He's systematic. He can run the play, whatever that play is. And if he gets in a rhythm, he's hot. He can throw the ball down the field. He can almost look perfect. But once that play breaks down, that's where the problems come from, Dallas. And so far, the play calling hasn't been that great. And I know that we want CD Lamb to be a number 1 receiver, but he might just be a glorified number 2. I think that was a big loss for them when they lost their number 1 receiver. And that offense has not been the same since Amari Cooper walked out that door. And then we look at Zeke. No, Zeke was a 2-yard getter, but in the red zone is where we miss Zeke because he had 12 touchdowns last year and he had 10 the previous year. Now, once we get near the goal, we have no one who can bang that ball and get it in the end zone. We don't know if Pollard can get there because he's usually on the sideline. The lineups, they take him out, they put Dwindle in. So we have Vaughn in, and we've had the 2nd and 3rd string running backs when we get in. So there are a lot of little issues there offensively. Not the toughness in the red zone with Zeke, the number 1 receiver. No one has stepped up because we got Lamb, and then that's it. Then no one else is stepping up. But I think the offense coordinator, and then of course the defense. they've proven to
You
be a
lose
fraud.
Diggs. What are you going to do? Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, Diggs is lost, but I don't really know if it's just Diggs. Right now, we don't seem to be able to stop the run. We can't stop the run. We have nothing in the middle, and it seems like the whole team is just trying to sack someone. Everybody wants a sack, but no one is doing anything else. And our defense is built to make turnovers. If they are not making turnovers, then they seem to have an issue. And if you look at the Giants game, the Giants was moving the ball up and down the field. They just kept turning it over. And that was the only thing that saved us. So you look at the games, if we don't force a turnover, and our defense has been our offense outside of our field goal kickers. So when our defense plays and turns the ball over and gets touchdowns, or that makes our offense a little better, because it puts us in the red zone a little easier, and we're not getting touchdowns, but we're getting points. At least, so that's the issues that I see right now. And I don't think it's all on Dak's shoulders. I think he's going to weigh most of the blame, and he's probably 50% of the problem, but it's not all just him. Right now, there are a lot of issues, and I think it starts with Mike McCarthy's offense and his confidence in this quarterback.
It's interesting that you bring him up, because, Kate, I was going to ask you, I'm curious for the talent level that is on this team, because it's there. There's always been question marks about Mike McCarthy, right? Every year, people keep bringing up question marks about Mike McCarthy. How much of it? And then you have the roller coaster effect, where they look so good, and then it looks like they didn't even game plan for a team, especially in that Arizona game, because Arizona is not better than we thought they were, people. They are just not. How much of this falls on Mike McCarthy, Kate?
A lot of it. I've never been a fan of him as a coach. Yeah. Even when he was in Green Bay, I gave Aaron Rodgers all the credit for what went on in Green Bay. And when the two of them quit getting along and he had to leave, I just thought, okay, he's going to go to Dallas and he's going to have Dak, and he'll do what he did in Green Bay. He will listen to Dak, and he will call the plays that Dak wants him to call, and they will be successful, and everyone will think he's a great coach. And I think that's the problem now, is he wants to run the team the way he wants to run it, and he's not listening to his quarterback. You don't have to have you don't have to have Zeke and CeeDee Lamb. You can live without Amari Cooper if your quarterback is running plays and he is accurate and he is hitting the guys that are open, and you can 3 yards, 4 yards your way down the field.
Sure.
You just need 10. You got 4 shots at 10, right? So you can dink and dunk and get down the field with anybody at quarterback if you've got a decent offensive line, and this offensive line is just tired, and you can see it in the second and fourth quarters of games how tired they are. Dak isn't extending plays in a way that's smart. He's getting out of the pocket and running for his life, and he's making bad decisions. Lisa made a comment that they have 0 tight end help. She's absolutely right. I don't even know who the tight end is right now. I couldn't name him. And so I think McCarthy is not doing himself any favors. He's got that I'm the smartest guy in the room mentality, and he's not working with his offense to say, listen, what plays work? What can we do to have some success and move the ball? My issue with the defense, and Michelle, you nailed it, is they are a turnover-focused defense, and they are not tackling. They're going for the ball. And if you miss, you give up huge plays. They're giving up huge third and long plays, when if they just tackle them, just make them. A punch is a turnover, right? A punch means you're giving the ball back to me. 3 and outs are a good thing. When you're trying for the turnover and you end up giving up a chunk of yardage, that's not good either. I've dropped them in both my fantasy leagues. I wrote them for 4 weeks, and then I'm like, that's it. No, I'm out.
Absolutely. Let's look at some of the comments from the chat. So Graham says, this was the game, the 49ers games we're talking about. This is the game Dak had to show up given his recent games. Sadly, he didn't. San Francisco are the best team in football right now. They really are. I just expected more from Dallas. I don't even know if I expected them to win. I just expected more from them for sure.
I was listening to
funny is I think Dallas expected more from Dallas.
I think they did.
If you listen to their comments, they expected more of themselves, and they just didn't come out and do anything. And we've seen this before, so this is not anything new. Dallas has done this before in big games, just like this.
Right.
And that, to me, that's a culture thing within the organization. So
And
Yeah,
then said the play calling is awful. Dak has to do better. I do think that he has to do better in his decision making. I completely agree with that. Go
yeah.
ahead, Kate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was listening to one of the groups on the ESPN talking after the game, and I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Amy Lawrence, but it was one of the ladies that said Dallas said that this game was a measuring stick from them. It was that this game was Dak was going to step up and they were going to prove that they really were for real. And instead, the 49ers took that measuring stick and beat them over the head
It's kind of
in
true.
every facet of the game. And I get to play them on Sunday.
Well, that's not a bad thing. Then Big Red said Dallas hasn't had a consistent quarterback since Troy Aikman. And I think that's really it, right? And that is kind of, I mean, I think that's the question that Jerry gets asked the most. I think that's the question that gets brought up about Dallas the most is consistency. There's just a lack of consistency. And then if they get to the playoffs, they can't go any further. There just seems to be a spark that's missing. And, I don't know if it's talent. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know. It's probably all of it. But at the same time, for as much bluster and that we hear from them, they just can't consistently put. Sometimes, dang, Dallas looks so good, right? Other times you're like, who the hell is this team? It has to be frustrating as a fan. I can't even imagine for sure.
Well, I think that's part of the problem is everyone hypes Dallas up every year.
Yep.
We don't always meet the hype, and
Yeah.
and most people don't watch the game. So really, if you're watching the game, then you already know we're not going to meet the hype.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I'm always there to remind them, are you watching or are you watching highlights? Because we're not the team that they're talking about.
Yeah.
We
It could
haven't
be.
proven that.
I got caught up in it this year. I get them high. All right. So let's talk about the other somewhat roller coaster team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. Now, here's the thing is that people might argue with me, Dana, the Buffalo Bills aren't a roller coaster team. Are they not? So you look at this team a little bit, and yes, they've had some injuries, and yes, they've had to, some problems, but they lost in week 1 to New York. Then they won 1, 2, 3 in a row with Vegas, Washington, and Miami. Lost to Jacksonville, and their wins were 38-10, 37-3, 48-20. I mean, they played the game, right? Like they were going to town. Their losses were somewhat close, but they had to go to overtime in New York, and divisional games are different. I will say that for sure. But once again, and Kate, I'll start with you. The interesting thing about Buffalo to me is that they are talked about in the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills trifecta. I think that they are not that team this year.
I agree. And I think we saw the emotion of DeMar Hamlin carry them through some things last year. But we talked at the end of last year about Josh Allen's play and the team's play as a whole, and they looked very disconnected and like they didn't know what they were doing at times, especially in the postseason. And I think that's carried into this year. Please, those of you in the chat room, keep it family friendly and clean. Lisa, I'm talking to you. If you're not on YouTube, you should come over to YouTube so you can see the
Read
chat.
the comments for sure.
Read the comments. I think they're not as good as we thought they were. And I think we're seeing that this year.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? And this is almost a team that you need to go quarter by quarter with. Like you need to look at it literally quarter to quarter, half to half, because they will come out of nowhere and then they look so sharp. And Stephon Diggs looks just like the best receiver in football. And they are just so good. And Josh Allen is, one of the best quarterbacks and they look good. And then it's like fumble, bumble, question marks. I don't even know what I'm going to do, sort of a thing. They don't look like they're putting it together. Now, in my opinion, it's not as bad as what we are seeing necessarily out of Dallas, but it's just, once again, unexpected. These are two teams that we had such high kind of thoughts, about it and expectations for. And again, like Michelle said, maybe that, that says more about us than them. But you look at Josh Allen. So he has 1,400 yards already. Fantastic. Averaging 8 yards. He has 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 9 sacks also. The interesting thing about it with him is that if you look at his rushing, he is their second highest rusher on that team, which again, we know doesn't always bode well toward the end of the season. So I don't know. Michelle, what are your thoughts on Buffalo? Do you think it's just because Lisa and I always say you don't know who a team is until week 4 to 6, but we're at 6 and I have no idea who these two teams are. What do you think about Buffalo?
I think Buffalo is, well, Josh Allen is the media darling. And I think that what the Buffalo Bills need the most is balance. Josh Allen is carrying too much of the load, and you just mentioned him with the rushing and the the passing. They throw the ball a lot, and when they run, it's him that's running. Now they got a lot of injuries on defense right now, so some of their key, and then with Von Miller not being there, and then they lost two more
He's
starters.
coming back, I think, this week.
He is coming back, and that should make them better. But they just lost a defensive tackle and they lost a linebacker, so they've lost some defensive players. But I think their issues more so everything evolves around Josh Allen and what he does and how he plays, and sometimes as we've seen last year, like Kate mentioned, at the end of the year and in the playoff games, he doesn't always play as well as they think he's going to play when he gets to those playoffs. And with him controlling the ball, it's almost like a point guard who shoots all the time, and no one else touches the ball. And that's pretty much the Bills' offense is everything that Josh Allen does. I think they need balance. They need to be able to use their running game some and try to get the ball to some other people. I know Stephon Diggs is hard not to, he's such a great talent. I just don't think that they are there. I just don't think they have a balanced offense. And if Josh Allen is off, then that throws their whole game off.
For sure. And Big Red said that in comments. He says, does Buffalo have a gimmicky offense that only works under certain conditions? I don't want to say yes, because it does work most of the time, but at the same time, kind of I think Michelle's point is exact. They have no balance. Kate, what were you going to say?
Well, I pulled up the stats. So first downs, rushing 39, passing 65. It's 2-1. And then total yards, 581 rushing, 1,400 passing. Again, it's 3-1 from a yardage standpoint. There's no balance for that. They're +6 in the turnover game, but they're not converting those into points. Right. So they've got to, you're right, figure out how to run the ball, because if you can take Josh Allen out and get pressure on him, they got nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll see what happens, because we're getting to the cutoff of what is a team, and now it's like, ooh, we're gonna figure that out real quick.
Yeah, we're into the real season now. Week 6.
We're in the thick of it, as we like to say. We're in the thick of it now. All right. So another question for you. We wanted to talk about New England real quickly. So I honestly, there has been that question out there about, Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. And I will tell you, it was the combination of the two of them. It wasn't just one or the other. However, Belichick is struggling right now. So you look at their stats. Mac Jones, he's probably not the guy. Right at 1,000 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, they're running back 188 yards. Their highest wide receiver right now is Kendrick Bourne at 218. They seem to, Zeke Elliott is there. He has 159 yards right now, but zero touchdowns. But Ramondre Stevenson only has 1 touchdown. This team is a disaster. If you look at just at the scoring alone. So they lost to Philadelphia 25-20. That game was probably closer than a lot of people thought it would be. Then they lost to Miami 24-17. They beat the Jets, their lone win, 15-10. Still so low scoring. Dallas trounced them 38-3. New Orleans, they got a zero burger, 34-0. So what's interesting to me here is we talked about forever, is Bill Belichick the best coach that's ever coached? He can't seem to coach his way out of this. Kate, it's a little hard to watch.
It's very difficult to watch. And I want to get on the bandwagon of people who are like, know when to say when. It's like you're ruining your legacy every game this season. Like if he'd have retired at the end of last year, I think the problem in Bill's head is he's chasing Don Shula. He needs 30 more wins to get to Don Shula's record. And he don't have 7 years in New England to get it at the pace they're going. Maybe under Brady, he'd get it in 2.5, right? Like, you know what I mean? I think that's why he's sticking around. And unless some miracle happens this season, it's not looking good. I don't know that Don Shula could coach the talent on this team into something better.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets have gotten better as the season has gone on. The Patriots feel like they're getting worse. There's not that one guy in the locker room that everyone is looking to and that they're rallying behind and is kind of leading this team. And so Bill has taken the brunt of it.
Michelle, I want to know, did Zeke Elliott just want to get the hell out of Dodge, or did he think that he could go up there and become the superstar of the Patriots?
I think it probably was a little bit of both. I mean, I think, Dallas didn't want him. He probably felt, kind of felt some type of way that he's been a part of that organization, and, they were willing to cut him loose. And I believe it was more about what we were paying him than whether wanting to get rid of him. But then, he probably still felt like he had some gas left in the tank, considering he was scoring the touchdowns, even though, we probably put him in at the 5-yard line. But I think he felt like he had some gas in the tank. But I'm looking at the Patriots, and as I watch their games each week, it's funny, Kate, because I was watching the game last week, and I looked at Bill, and they showed him. I'm like, Bill really needs to go ahead and retire. I mean, it's almost like what you said about Mike McCarthy. He has his way of how he's going to run the organization. The problem is that the players are different now. The mindsets are different, and sometimes they need a different voice. They need someone who can relate and get them to play. They don't have a lot of talent, but they don't have a lot of talent.
I feel like there's like this age generational thing going on. Like Bill's older than MySpace and AOL.com. Like he cannot relate to these younger players and the social media, the changes, the technology, all that kind of stuff. I just feel like he's not relatable to them. And maybe the players are connecting with him. And without that strong leader in the locker room that you had when he had Brady, I think there's a disconnect. They're not buying into what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Or he could just be fooling us all, and they're just playing for a draft pick and just pretending to win or pretending to look like they're trying.
That could, I put nothing past Billy B.
Past Bill.
Yeah,
I thought that was the Bears were playing for draft picks, but he's
going to have a fight on his hand because there's a lot of them fighting down there at the bottom. So I'm not sure he can make that one.
Here's the interesting thing about it to me that you guys bring up, and I'm not just saying this so I can bring up Pete Carroll, but they're the two oldest coaches in the NFL, right? And you couldn't have two more polar opposite coaches, where Pete Carroll thrives on the younger players and they absolutely adore him, and he gets it, and he goes after them and seeks out that knowledge, and they absolutely adore him. And Bill Belichick is more of your grumpy granddad who just, not the hip cool granddad. He's like, just do it my way or shut the hell up about it. At least that's the impression that he gives off. Obviously, I don't know him personally. And so that could be interesting. No, I was just gonna say, so that could be definitely part of the dynamic there. But what I also think, and I've said this 1,000 times, Kay can, attest to it. The New England Patriots with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady was lightning in a bottle. That was not ever going to happen again. It will not ever happen again. You won't have that dynasty again for a million different reasons, not just because of those two, but because of the way the game is played and the way things are changing. And so to pit the two of them against each other is ridiculous to me, because it was the two of them together. So we can't expect that out of him just because his name is Bill Belichick.
I was just going to make the point with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll coached in the college level, and I think that's a different thing where you learn to relate to those athletes. But with the for that, with the Bill, I had a thought on your last statement about Bill Belichick, and then I lost it. So I'm gonna let Kate go because I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, my thought was keep an eye on Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, because they may be beginning to go into something that Belichick and Brady had.
Forget it. You know why? Because he will Shanahan him, and you guys know what I mean by that. He cannot keep a quarter. He will break every quarterback he gets. His dad did it too. It's just the way it works. So they will never keep him healthy enough for a dynasty. It's just true. But let me tell you this. The Dolphins fans are having a heyday in our chat, and I want to say this. Miami, you look a little rough sometimes too. So don't get too cocky. Don't get too cocky.
But isn't it weird to see the Dolphins at the top of the AFC East and the Patriots at the bottom? Is that not like weird?
We had to Grandpa Bill Belichick his Mama Fratelli from the Goonies. That is so bad. Oh, Graham. I love that Graham's in the UK. He stays up to watch our show. That's so funny. All right, everyone. Okay, well, so to wrap up tonight's show, we are going to play a little game. Speaking of coaches, Kate came up with this game that she wants to play. It's like, who would you rather have? All right, Kate, I'm turning it over to you.
So I made a list of 9 current head coaches who've either been in the league for a long time or who have a high winning percentage. And I was curious if you were a Patriots fan right now and you could trade for a different head coach. Would you either keep Belichick or would you rather have one of these guys? And so the first guy on my list is John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens. He has been with them. Belichick's been there since 2000. He has been with the Ravens since 2008. He's 149 and 96 for a winning percentage of 60%. Bill, by the way, is 263 on 110 for a 70.5% win ratio. It is not the best winning percentage of current head coaches. I don't count this year's head coaches have only been here 3 or 4 years.
No, they got to be here a minute.
They got to be here a minute. So Bill has the second best winning percentage at 70, but John Harbaugh is sitting at 60% there in Baltimore. Michelle, would you rather have John Harbaugh or Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick won 6 championships in less than 10 years. I'm going to stick with Bill Belichick.
All right, Dana?
To be honest with you, I think they're both at the end of their careers, and that's not a slam on John Harbaugh. I know he's quite a bit younger, but then again, a change of scenery can do a lot for someone. So just to be contrarian, I will say good Harbaugh, as I like to call him, not evil Harbaugh.
Good. Next one on my list, joined the Kansas City Chiefs in 2013 with the highest winning percentage of current head coaches at 72, Andy Reid. Michelle, would you rather have Andy to finish out the season for New England? Do you think he can do anything with them, or are you keeping Belichick?
If you guys don't know me, you know that I love Andy Reid, right? Mm-hmm. So I absolutely love Andy Reid, and I'm going to take Andy Reid every time, even though I know Belichick won all the championships. I'm taking Andy Reid.
I think that might be the quarterback coach combination that could come somewhat close to New England's record, but I still don't think that they'll get there. Of the two, Andy Reid is a quarterback whisperer, and so maybe he could get someone up there and really coach him up. So yeah, I think I'd go Andy Reid on that one too.
Did you see what Andy Reid did with the Philadelphia Eagles when Donovan McNabb was there? They had 2 players, McNabb and the running back. That's it.
Yep. Here, I have to call this out really quick. So Lisa's like, I told y'all about Brock. We were talking about Brock Purdy. You also told us about Jordan Love. How's that working out for you, Lisa? Just asking. All right. Next question.
All right. I'll run through these quick. Matt LaFleur, Green Bay. He has only been there since 2019, but he's 49 and 21, and he's won 70% of his games with them. He hasn't had the quarterback or the talent, I don't think, to get into the playoffs and to make a run. But he's done, I think, a very nice job with what he's got. We'll see how he does with Jordan Love as time goes on. But what are your thoughts on Matt LaFleur?
Okay.
Dana, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you are looking for a long-term solution, I think he would be great. I would take LaFleur over Belichick just because of his youth and the way that he runs his offense. I really am impressed with his offense. So I would take of those two, and we were starting, and I got to decide today. I would go with youth on that one and go with LaFleur.
Michelle?
I mean, that sounds good. Plus, he's a little cutie. But that sounds pretty good. I don't know. He hasn't proven anything to me. I know that
That's fair.
I can say that he hasn't proved. I haven't seen enough to know whether I would take him or not. I think that Jordan Love's been playing pretty good. He didn't play well last night, but he's playing pretty good. But I'm not sure. I think I'll stick with what I know. I'm like the hoodie. I'll stick with the hoodie on this.
You stick with the hoodie. So we're getting all kinds of answers in our chat too. A lot of people want to go with John. Almost everyone's taken Andy over that one at that point. So yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you now a 3-pick.
Uh-oh.
You can pick which one of these 3 would you take over Belichick?
Okay.
LA Rams, Sean McVay's been there. These are all new coaches from 20s. These all took their jobs in 2017. He's got a 60% winning percentage in LA. Sean McDermott with the Bills with a 64% winning percentage. And Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers, who's got a 55% winning percentage, but he's going to look a little better at the end of this year. So Kyle Shanahan, Sean McDermott, Sean McVay, would you take any of them over Belichick?
Michelle, you go first.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, Danny, you know how I feel about McVay.
I know.
You know, I just love him.
I know.
I really do. Just so he can walk up and down the sideline. But if I had to choose between these, I'm gonna dump the 2 Seans and I'm gonna take Kyle, even though I'm not a fan of the Shanahans, but Kyle is doing a great job. He's failed at some places. But right now in San Francisco, the way he has that team playing, he looks like the future. He looks like he has. I'm going with Kyle. I'll go with Kyle against my will, but I'll go with Kyle.
Against my will, she says. I think of the 3, and again, this is if we are starting this year, starting from scratch. I probably would take McDermott. I'm not a fan of Sean McVay. I mean, I know Michelle likes him, but his coaching style is the way he runs that team is a little baffling to me. And Shanahan, he would just break every quarterback he got. So what's the point of that? But I think that I would probably take McDermott, although I'm questioning that a little bit this year. So if with the players they have right now and team development going forward, I'd probably go Sean McDermott. I just think that we all kind of agree that it's time for Bill to maybe just be done with it. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, of those 3, I'm actually keeping Bill. Because I agree with you. Sean and McDermott and Sean McVay, and they're a little sketchy. And I think Kyle Shanahan is going to end up owing this stretch that he's on to Brock Purdy, and the fact that Brock Purdy is one of the highest football IQs I have ever seen. He understands those 28-word play calls that Shanahan does, that insane stuff that he does. Yep. He gets it. And so you need the right quarterback to understand his offense. And I don't know that he's going to find that in New England. This is like the one where I'm keeping Belichick.
I don't really blame you on that one, to be honest with you. I kind of get that.
I got 3 more. I'm going to do one. And I only threw this one in because he's fairly new, because I'm curious to get your thoughts on Nick Sirianni with the Eagles. He's won 70% of his games. He's only been there 2 years. Is he a good coach, or does he just have a load of talent?
I think he's an extremely good coach. I really do, with a whole bunch of talent. But remember Jalen Hurts' first season and how he has changed this year. I think Sirianni is a great coach. I'm very impressed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hate to agree. It's the Eagles, but I think he is doing a great job. He seems to be a great motivator too, and sometimes that's what you need. But he relates to his players. I mean, they have tons of talent, but he was a part of them picking that talent. Maybe he can see, the talent that he needs. But I think he's doing an excellent job, and he's proven so far so good.
All right, we got 2 left.
Okay.
Dana, Pete Carroll, Seattle. It's been there since 2010. His record is 130-82, 61% winning percentage. Do you take Pete Carroll over Bill Belichick?
Yes, because I think, and not because it's just Pete and I adore him, but for what I mentioned earlier, if you're going to start from scratch and have to completely rebuild a team, you need a guy who understands young players. And I think that is one of Pete's superpowers. So I would take him.
All right, Michelle.
You just said it, because that's what we talked about, the relatability of these players. And I think if I had to choose between the 2 of them, Pete probably can relate more than Bill. That doesn't make him more successful, though. But, he probably could.
Yeah. And the last one on my list is someone that I don't I know that he is very well respected across the league. I just don't think we hear his name enough when we talk about the best coaches in the game, and that is
Mhm.
Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. What he has done since 2007 with a team that has some they've got some talent on defense now. They've got some sketchy offense. They've had some sketchy offense since Ben left, and he still finds a way to get that team to play every minute of every game through the end of the season. Um, he's still got that look in his eyes on the sideline. Like he is still, for as long as he's been doing this, I couldn't believe he's been there since 07. He's got a 64% winning percentage. Mike Tomlin, do you take him over? He's 165 and 94. He's got more wins than Pete Carroll. He's got 3 more years on him, but
Yeah.
he's got 35 more wins.
This is probably a Dana question because everybody knows that I'm going to take Mike Tomlin if he at 9 times out of 10. This is like asking me if I'm going to take Denzel Washington versus some other actor. Of course, I'm taking Mike Tomlin.
Dude, next time you're on, Michelle, I'm just going to do the cutest coaches poll, and we'll do a,
No, and it's not just that. I mean, it's not just that he's my boo. No, actually, I'm seriously. It's not just that. It's just seriously, Mike Tomlin. He's had how many winning seasons? I mean, he hasn't had a losing season, has he? Maybe one.
No, they have not.
No.
They had a losing
So,
season since he's been here. He's got
he has not had a
64% of
losing-
win totals.
They haven't won as many Super Bowls as they would like to, but you look at Mike Tomlin when you watch him on the sideline, doesn't he make you want to play for him? I mean, I think he makes you he brings out the best in his players. I think he's a great coach. I know the Steelers fans are fed up with him and they want him to leave, but somehow he always makes magic happen for them, even when it doesn't seem like it should. And I just think he's a good coach.
It just
I'm going to post this
they're in my division
and a good leader. I think he's a good leader.
Yeah, that team has had 3 head coaches in my entire lifetime.
3.
That's crazy.
Chuck
That's
Noll,
crazy.
Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. That is insane. And I think it was Camden put a comment in there that says Tomlin is better than Peyton. To be fair, everybody is better than Peyton. I think the
Sean Payton,
first of all, there's too many Seans in head coaching jobs right now.
Right.
So instead of the Rooney rule, we're going to have the Shawnee rule next year. No more Seans as head coaches. We have enough.
It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
that is my last comment on head coaching in general. Is for someone who ran his mouth as much as he did about, Nathaniel and the job, and we did our share of criticizing the job Nathaniel did, Mr. Hackett did in Buffalo, or in Baltimore, in Denver. I can't even.
He didn't say anything wrong.
In Bronco country.
Yeah. So I think that, Tomlin, I would take Mike Tomlin in a minute just because he scares me a little. So you don't want to, say no to him. But so I think he does. I love him. He's one of my favorites. But I think the interesting thing about this is when you look at these coaches, the majority of us, we all were like thinking that maybe it's just time to move on. And that's not to bash Bill Belichick. He will forever be one of the greatest football coaches of all time. I just think that there comes a time for everyone, right? And so that needs to kind of happen. But but at the same time, I feel for that fan base because I can't imagine going from that high of a high to that quickly low of a low. It's pretty yucky. So
yeah, and I feel like that's a fan base that is going to want an established coach if Bill leaves.
Yep, I think so too.
Try somebody new, and I don't think anyone on my list is looking for a new gig.
No.
So,
I don't know. Sean McVay was going to go be a reporter, so maybe.
and who wants to follow that legacy? Because that's not going to be easy. That is going to be a fan base that you're not going to be able to please.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That is going to be hard, big boot shoes to fill, and so maybe it would be better to go with a young, unproven guy because he's like, you know what? Why the hell not? Because someone like Tomlin or one of these other guys are going to be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to be the one. Luckily, though, for whoever comes in next, Bill's not going out on top. And so that'll actually probably help them to a certain extent. So anyway, all right, everyone. Well, I know we went way over tonight, and it's because we love chatting with Michelle and we love her opinions. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, it's
Thank
so
you guys
much
for
fun.
having me.
Yeah,
Always fun.
absolutely. All right, so we will be back next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, it's the Tuesday after week 6. And what do we say? You know, a team by the time week 6 rolls around, you know who a team is. So we are going to go through all 32 teams next week, and we're going to tell you who they are, who we think they are, and where we see them. It should be a really fun show. So I hope that all of you guys will join us. Again, we are here on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. But if you come to YouTube, you can join this crazy comment section that they're cracking us up, and you can maybe end up with your comment on the show. All right, everyone, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.